Okay, we're back in session.
All right, and we had roll call and the Pledge of Allegiance and executive session off camera, and we're ready to start with the next item.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to come out of executive session?
I'll make the motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
And this is going to require a roll call vote.
Okay. Councillor Kane?
Aye.
Councillor Fellows?
Here.
Councillor Keller?
Yes.
Councillor Larochelle?
Yes.
Councillor Lunt?
Yes.
Councillor Moore?
Aye.
Councillor Robichaud is excused. 6 yeas, 0 nays. Order passed. Vote 6-0. All
Do we
right.
have a record of Councilor Robichaud being excused?
Yes, Councillor Robichaud was excused with vote 2023-1B. Councillor Larochelle was seconded by Councillor Kane to excuse Councillor Robichaud's absence. At that time, there was a quorum. We had a vote of 4-0 to accept the excused absence.
Okay, good.
All right.
First item?
First item is good news and recognition.
So, have a bit of good news. Back, was it 2021 now, I guess? You had made the decision to create the position of Assistant Town Manager. I filled the role of the first one very briefly, and we have hired a new Assistant Town Manager, Melanie Alexander, who is here tonight to introduce ourselves to you and tell you a little bit about herself. So, Melanie, why don't you come on up and introduce yourself to the council and the residents of Lisbon.
Hi. As Glenn said, my name is Melanie Alexander, and I am the new Assistant Town Manager for the Town of Lisbon. And I want to thank everybody for giving me this opportunity. I do come from municipal government. I have about 15 years of municipal government experience. I am a certified clerk, a prior certified treasurer, a certified tax collector, and a certified general assistance administrator. I have been a town manager briefly and an assistant town manager. So I look forward to bringing my experience to this new role. And I chose Lisbon above other opportunities because of the town, the number in the town. It's affordable. I'd like to live here. And it has a lot of opportunity for growth. So I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Well, good. Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks, Melanie. And we'll cut you loose now so you can go home. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any more good news or recognition? Next item?
Next item, public hearings. Once the chair opens the public hearing, those present who wish to speak may approach the lectern to address the council chair. Please use the microphone and state your name for the record. First item, amendments to section 74-151, the revolving loan fund ordinance.
I'll open that public hearing. Anybody wish to speak to that in the audience? Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing.
Next item is the medical marijuana retail store and manufacturing facility license for Crystal Spring Healing Alternatives.
Don?
Yes.
We're hearing your superfluous diatribe going on. We might have to mute you.
Sorry.
We have heard you all along.
We heard everything.
For the record.
Next item, sorry.
All right, so just to refresh, it's the medical marijuana retail store and manufacturing facility license for Crystal Spring Healing Alternatives.
I'll open that public hearing. Any comment on that? Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing.
The next item is audience participation and response for agenda items. At this time, those in the audience who wish to speak may approach the lectern to address items or issues that are on the agenda. Please use the microphone and state your name for the record.
Anyone in the audience have anything to speak to? Seeing none, next order, next item.
All right, next item is the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered routine and will be considered for adoption by one motion with no separate discussion unless a counselor requests an item be removed. Any counselor wishing to remove an item may do so now. Seeing none, Order 2023-1 to approve the municipal accounts payable warrants, $2,213,030.68. Municipal payroll warrants, $307,554.34. School accounts payable warrants, $501,791.44. School payroll warrants, $136.25. Minutes of December 6th, 2022. The medical marijuana manufacturing, retail store, and manufacturing facility license for Crystal Springs. To set public hearings for January 17th for medical marijuana retail store license for BBB Pharmaceuticals and the liquor license and special entertainment permit for Railroad Restaurant and Pub. Road postings, wellness grant, NIMS resolution, and a poll permit for 52 Bodenham Road.
I make a motion to accept as written.
Second.
All those in favor? This will be a roll call vote.
Mm-hmm. Counselor Moore,
Aye.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Keller,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows,
Yes.
Counselor Kane.
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays. Order passed. Vote 6-0.
Next item.
Next item is council orders, resolutions, and ordinances. The first is Order 2023-02 to approve the Maine Municipal Association for workers' compensation insurance.
So just to quickly touch on this, we recently went out and solicited quotes for our workers' compensation. We're going to be renewing with Maine Municipal this year, saving us $6,000 right off the bat from our initial quote from our renewal, with an opportunity to save up to $40,000 for the town as we commit to their workers' compensation fund resolution that you'll be seeing as the next agenda item. And it'll expand our institutional opportunities for police SOPs and just kind of open up a way to save us some money and get us some better institutional resources for our workers' compensation program.
Make a
You're
motion.
ratifying this retroactively because by law I had to carry workers' compensation between now and the last meeting. So
Right. Well, that sounds like a good deal.
Absolutely. Yep.
Is there a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Counselor Kane,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows,
Yes.
Counselor Keller,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Aye.
6 yeas, 0 nays. Order passed. Vote 6-0. Next item is Order 2023-03, the Workers' Compensation Fund Resolution.
I'll make a motion that we adopt.
Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion, just so we get a little more clarification of it. Were you going to describe a little bit more about this, or?
So I was out last week, so I had staff prepare this part of the agenda item. My understanding is if the council resolves to commit to the MMA's worker compensation safety program, it'll save us an additional 5% annually on our premiums. I don't have a copy of the resolution in front of me. I don't know if
I do.
Lisa has it
Yes.
to read it off.
It's not very long. I'm sorry.
It sounds like
Here it is.
MMA really wants us to approve it, and for that, there's an incentive.
Yeah, so it starts with the resolve from the council, and then we'll implement those policies for an additional savings of 5%.
So the Workers' Compensation Fund resolution for the Town of Lisbon reads as follows. Whereas the Town of Lisbon is a member of the Maine Municipal Association Workers' Compensation Fund, hereinafter WC Fund, and whereas Maine Municipal Association, hereinafter MMA, provides risk management services and workers' compensation coverage, and whereas MMA developed the Workers' Compensation Safety Incentive Program, hereinafter the program, to help reduce the incidence and impact of workplace injuries by implementing WC claim best practices, and whereas MMA will provide necessary written program information and offer assistance to participants, and whereas WC Fund members that participate in the program and complete the required activities will have the opportunity to earn a credit to their annual contribution, and whereas the Town of Lisbon is committed to providing a safe environment for its employees, citizens, and visiting public, and whereas the program will help enhance such an environment and promote a self-sustaining culture of safety with participating members. Now therefore be it resolved by the Lisbon Town Council to elect to participate in the MMA Workers' Compensation Safety Incentive Program. I also made sure that we included the poster description and a more extensive description from MMA about the Workers' Comp Fund and their program.
Thanks, Lisa.
Now, do we need a motion to,
We
again, we already opened it.
I
right?
think we actually have a first and a second, so I think
we
it's
do have a
just-
first and a second, we just need to vote. Councillor Larichelle,
Yes.
Councillor Keller,
Yes.
Councillor Lunt,
Yes.
Councillor Fellows,
Yes.
Councillor Moore,
Aye.
Councillor Kane.
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays. Vote passed 6-0.
Next item.
Order 2023-04, amendments to Chapter 70 zoning ordinance, Section 70-614, the Building and Property Maintenance Standards. This is a first reading.
Make a motion.
To discuss?
I'll make a motion for discussion.
I'll second it.
The code enforcement officer isn't here to be able to give extra information, but I asked him about it because
I think we need a vote. We got a motion, right? We need
that's
Motion
right.
for discussion, it would have been good just actually for the public to actually have a quick overview of what
Yep.
the change is.
What this does is bring the ordinance in line with the Maine state statutes. So some of the Maine state statutes changed, so we had to change the reference numbers. So if you look at the red line version, you'll see it's all just changes in numbers to reference the correct statutes.
Yes. Yeah. I talked with my dad about this, and he said it was just purely a housekeeping to bring it in line with the state law changed, and the existing law that it referenced was no longer in place. So they had to change it to keep it as a working ordinance. If they don't change it, it would be
Yeah.
unenforceable.
Well, we're gonna keep and stay in
Only
line.
unfortunate thing about it is that when it's the planning board, chapter 70, the planning board has to go the same process as the town council, and the town council gets to do it all over again. So here we are.
Any more discussion?
Does this actually bring all our ordinances into correct manner, or is it just actually specific ones?
Specifically this one, I think that each time the council or planning board looks at ordinances and realizes that there's a statute that's changed, that's when they might look more specifically at the entire section to make sure that it's changed and in line with state statutes. But the key is we don't have somebody who watches every statute change, and each time there's a statute change at the state level, it trickles down to us. We don't have a process in place for that.
Does MMA do anything like that?
I mean,
Seems like they would-
they'll periodically release legal updates and legislative reports throughout the year. This was something we caught over the summer when, Mark was going to enforce property maintenance and referencing a bunch of repealed state statutes. So this has just
Correct.
been some administrative detail that's been kind of in the works since, I guess, August or September. I almost forgot when we started talking about it.
But yes, MMA does send notifications sometimes, but if something changes and it wasn't obvious to us that it reflects on something in our ordinances, then it doesn't trigger anything otherwise. But it does go, it goes to you, it goes to me, it goes to a few other people, and it's usually available on their website as well for anyone who'd like to keep tabs on it.
I noticed that MMA has an intern program. I don't know if you saw that email from MMA. Might not be a bad idea to get an intern to look at our ordinances and compare them with current statute, just to see if we're up to snuff. I think it's over the summer, actually.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing they really send every year is the GA ordinance to kind of make sure we've updated that annually. But I guess everything else is kind of passive. It's not really an active communication, at least. But I've only been at it for a couple months, so we'll see in the next 10 or 11 months what else they send me. So
We can find out.
Good.
Okay.
We're ready for a vote?
All right. Councillor Kane?
Yes.
Councillor Keller?
Yes.
Councillor Lunt?
Yes.
Councillor Moore?
Aye.
Councillor LaRochelle?
Yes.
Councillor Fellows?
Yes.
Order pass 6-0.
Next item.
That means it's automatic for hearing. That's correct next time?
This will, yes, the order we just passed will be to have a second reading, and it'll set the hearing for our next meeting on the 17th.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The next item is Order 2023-05, amendments to Section 74-151, the Revolving Loan Fund Ordinance. This is a second reading.
An amendment to open up for discussion?
I would make a motion to open for discussion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I think that this has been pretty well given to us as far as most of the details. And
I think
first
Ross
reading.
has
Yep.
clued us in on this pretty good. Ready for a vote?
Councillor Moore.
Aye.
Councillor Kane.
Do I need to abstain for this one?
Councillor Fellows.
Yes.
Councillor Lunt.
Yes.
Councillor Keller.
Yes.
Councillor LaRochelle.
Yes.
5 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention. Order passed, vote 5-0.
Next item.
All right. And Order 2023-06, tax acquired property redemption.
We recognize our finance director.
Hello, Kayla Tierney, Finance Director, Tax Collector, Treasurer. We had foreclosed 4 properties for non-payment of real estate taxes and sewer bills on December 19th, 2022. So this before you tonight is to authorize me as the town treasurer to send out a 30-day notice of redemption, a notice of intent to sell your former property, and an application for alternative sale to the tax acquired property owners of record, allowing them to pay all real estate taxes, sewer amounts, and fees owed on the property in full, or apply the alternative tax sale by the end of the 30-day period of redemption, and furthermore to accept the funds until council takes action to dispose of the property and issue a quitclaim deed when payment in full is received. So that redemption letter would go out with today's date, and the 30 days would bring us to February 3rd.
Make a motion for discussion.
Second the motion?
Mr. Chair, may I?
Yes.
Out of the 4 properties, how many are actually lived in?
From what I can tell, 2.
2? And once we actually agree on this process, it's in the works. It's not actually reversible unless there's actually complete or some type of agreement made as far as for payment, right?
Right, so the automatic foreclosure has already happened. There's no going back on that. And then as far as the redemption, it's my understanding that it's on a municipal town council level to allow the redemption period. There are some municipalities that do, some municipalities that don't. And if you don't do the redemption period, it just remains as a tax acquired property. But if you do, then it allows that former owner to redeem it back from the town.
Yep, I remember in years past, some of the bigger questions is once we once you go through the process and there's still people living in the property, that we're actually liable for the property, right? I mean, it's actually ours. Or is that not true, or is that?
I'd have to ask legal, or I don't have an answer to that question.
From my coursework I just completed for Certified Tax Collector, the state of Maine tax lien law says that from a municipal standpoint, you would tax acquire the property. You would issue a redemption if that town council approves of that, and then notice of intention of sale. So what the next process in that would be is we would put the properties up for bid. It goes to the highest bidder. And at that point, whoever is the highest bidder is now the new owner of that property. So then that title change from Town of Lisbon to that new property owner. Per what I've read on the state of Maine lien law, it becomes that new property owner's duty to deal with the people still living in that property. It removes the town out of that process.
Before we get to that point, before there's a bid, at what point do we actually legally own the property? Are you saying we actually own that property now? So we are responsible for what happens there, whether something happens or something happens to the property or liable happens. I mean, that was one of the concerns we had in the past. That's why a lot of times we don't move it to this far in the process, only because sometimes the expenditures could be more than the gains, right?
Yeah, just after the automatic foreclosure date at this point is the Town of Lisbon property.
Yep. And none of these have liens on them, of course, because they wouldn't have got to this point, right? They're actually...
Oh, they do have liens. That's what brought you to the foreclosure part.
No, I mean as far as bank liens, actually a third party that actually, there's no third party that actually has financial...
So one of the 3 does have a bank foreclosure, and I've been attempting to contact that mortgage company so that then this would be that redemption period for that mortgage company to then pay us, which would put the floor down to 3.
So that we're not legally responsible to do that as of now, since they are really the legal owner of the property, or... I mean, in a sense that the owner is just living there and making payments, right? The bank actually owns it, so they are the ones that... And again, I'm just asking the questions because a lot of this came up very far in the process last time, where we were trying to back up, trying to figure out where we were legally responsible as far as for people still living there. Should we actually make people move out because, we're basically responsible for the building at this point if we own it? There's just a lot of questions come up, and I know it's been a few years since we've actually had a point where we've had 3 or 4 that we've had actually to deal with. So just want to make sure that we're doing that. I'm sure you are. Just, I can't imagine a bank would actually want to hear after the fact, right? You would think that their requirements would be initially, but...
Yeah.
Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
How long have these been in arrears that they haven't been paying? What kind of time frame is there that we're looking at here?
So of the 4, 3 are real estate, and that's an 18-month time frame.
So they haven't paid anything in 18 months, is what you're saying? So
Yep. And then the other is sewer, and that is a year to 6 months to a year kind of a time frame.
Okay.
Again, I have no problem. Just want to make sure we're doing our due diligence, make sure that we...
Yeah, and I'll check again, because I know in our training we just had, that there is some immunity to the town and a cap on liability. So this may be one of the situations where you have some less liability exposure. I don't know the answer, but I can find the answer.
Yeah, I would think the one that actually has a third party that has an interest in it would be very, very interested in taking care of that prior to going any extended period, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of work because it's you're reaching out to the homeowner, reaching out to any other interested related parties to that homeowner. So the one that has a mortgage interest, that mortgage company and the town has gone like back and forth. And from a statutory standpoint, an automatic foreclosure had hit. So this actually redemption will allow me to continue to work with that mortgage holder to claim that payment and then redeem it back to the bank, because in the state of Maine, municipality would come first before the bank, so it is in the bank's best interest.
Yeah, to take care of it, you would only
Yeah.
think, right? But, well, thank you. I didn't mean to have all the questions. It's just
No,
nice
it's
before we make a
good
vote to
questions.
have an idea. Because in the past, we were trying, when we actually had not just 3 or 4, but, dozens, it was actually difficult to actually determine which ones were lived in and which one weren't. And once we get to that, get beyond those votes, really, the municipality really has no backing up at that point. They actually have to keep moving through. And we've had in the past where house has gone out to bid, and the person who bought it actually had to get the person kicked out of the house. Which is challenging. I'm not sure where Maine law is during the middle of winter and stuff like that. But if you're a renter, you'd have a difficult time doing that for sure. But I'm all good.
Any more discussion?
Yeah, Harry, Mr. Chair. I'm sitting back here listening to all this, and I remember when it came up last time, and I remember the difficulty of people living in the house and all that sort of thing. But as I understand it right now, if this goes forward, we're offering the people to pay the taxes, which they probably won't do. So at that point, it goes up for bid, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And if nobody purchases, what happens?
It remains as a tax-acquired property on the town's books.
Okay, but no liability.
We would have to talk to legal and insurance representations to cover ourselves on liability, yes.
Because what I was wondering is if you put it out to bid and there's somebody occupying and it looks like this is not worth it, I'm not going to put a bid in for something that's going to get me a can of worms, and I just thought we could end up owning the property.
Yeah, that would be the case.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ready for a vote?
Okay. Councillor Fellows?
Yes.
Councillor Lunt?
Yes.
Councillor Moore?
Aye.
Councillor Kane?
Yes.
Councillor Keller?
Yes.
Councillor LaRochelle?
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays. Order passed, 6-0. The next item is other business. First is council committee reports.
School committee. Councillor Lunt.
I have not had a chance to attend their meetings, but I'm planning to this year here.
I have nothing to report, but I don't know if, were you actually at the meeting? Because we were talking about the appointment. I just didn't want to speak third hand, so.
Oh, you're the library.
Oh.
Yes, but I talked to the person from the school committee.
Please speak into your microphone. Your microphone.
If it's okay to say that they decided to appoint Lynn
You don't.
Ludlam.
Yeah, you don't have to announce their pick, but they did meet tonight, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We'll wait for them to announce it, but I think it was live streamed. So if you'd like to let the council know, that's fine.
Okay.
I guess we have nothing to report. We were there.
We'll start right there, I guess. Planning board?
Yes, they met on December 8th. My first attempt at Zooming this thing, and it didn't work out real well because Mark Stombach plugged into the TV and everything went haywire, so I kind of heard things by echo. That sense is, I'm told, is fixed. But anyway, they did pass this property standards maintenance and sent it to town council, which you guys voted on tonight. They did a first reading on the new sign ordinance and set a hearing for the January 12th. and there was a case accepted for Pro Custom Auto Body on Ferry Road. That's going to be a hearing on January 12th. River Driver Cannabis Adult Manufacturing case accepted as complete, and a hearing for January 12th as well. And that was for their manufacturing change. Public Works fuel tank installation application was accepted, and there's a hearing on that January 12th. And I assume that after all these hearings, the planning board will probably make decisions. A sign application, the sign application was put forward by the IAMAW Union office downtown. That was approved. But secondarily, there was an American Legion application for a sign that was not approved. And the only reason these things are coming before the planning board is because we don't have a sign ordinance in place, and every request for a sign is going directly to the planning board. As it turns out, it appears as though the American Legion would further violate the ordinance for signs than by putting up a new sign. So it was referred back to them to think about what they'd like to do. The addition was supposed to be an electronic sign. They were going to do some modifications, but they have a sign on the building, and they're in the middle of a general residential area, so it's a whole different game. But that's it for the planning board.
Thank you. Lisbon Development Committee.
Nothing to report.
Conservation Commission, I'm going to be attending their next meeting January 10th. So I should have something for our next council meeting. Parks and Recreation.
I have not attended the meeting, and I, if I could, Mr. Chair, it'd be good that if we could request the idea of, for some of the new appointments to actually, for the council to receive like an updated schedule when they are attending and an updated board committee list, so we just have a pretty good idea of what's going on. And I'd even kind of request for myself and maybe other people to get past the last couple of minutes for the last few months, just so we have an idea of where they're at prior to going in, if we could. I'm not sure if that's too hard to do or not, but
I have talked with the town manager about updates on all of the commissions. Apparently, they're all online, as I understand.
Yep, we keep a list online, and I'd be happy to forward a copy of the list. The list is a good one that has the committee, when it meets, and how often it meets, and who the current council liaison to it is. So I'll forward that to the whole council.
and I did see it, but I didn't see any minutes, so I was just kind of curious.
They don't report minutes to us.
They don't report minutes to the.
Some of them don't take minutes.
Okay. All right.
But so the problem with minutes is they have to have someone who'll take the minutes.
Sure. Yeah. Understood. Yeah.
So sometimes the chairs will take minutes and report them that way.
Perfect. Thank you.
Is that it?
That is it.
County Budget Committee. I'm going to be attending their meeting tomorrow evening at the county. So I'll have something to report at our next meeting. Library.
The library has some good news. After all the road construction, everything is clear in front of the library door now, and people can get in. So a lot of people that were kind of nervous about it are coming back to the library. Also, programs, children's programs, there will be, for the next 3 weeks, at least 2 story times on Friday and Saturday. There is a seniors program with the Methodist Church about SpringWorks, which sounds really good. And then we have a new program coming out, which is called Access 360, and that will enable our library patrons to borrow books online. So we're looking forward to that. And there were a couple of comments about parking, and we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah, so there's some issues with parking that were brought to our attention. We have our department head meeting tomorrow, so I'll touch base with Chief Leclerc, Chief McGee, and the library director, and have an update for you at the next meeting. Some signage issues, and the road's a little narrower, so we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Finance Committee, Council Robichaud is excused. Next item.
Water Commission.
Water Commission.
Oh, sorry, Water Commission.
Don't leave me out. Their next meeting is January 10th at 5 p.m. The last one was on December 13th at 1 p.m., which was a second meeting in a week. But anyway, they have, I guess the most news is they have a new employee, which they're excited about. He won't start till late January. Comes from Connecticut and seems to be very experienced. The other bit of news is that Cindy is now the official business manager, and Shelley is stepping back somewhat. I guess she eventually intends to pull out. I'm not sure when. The chlorine implementation still is prominent because the Lisbon Falls end of town is first experiencing chlorine where they hadn't before. It'll become hopefully better blended and not such an issue going forward. And they're still looking for a third commissioner up to the town council to find one, I think. And I don't know, and I don't think they know if there's been any applications yet. Does anybody know?
We have had no applications for Water Commission. We do have our sign out front notifying people that there's a vacancy, but we have had no one request applications.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Town manager's report.
So just a couple things. McGee Construction's on their winter break. They'll be resuming in the spring with the Main Street project. The lights on Village Street are no longer blinking. There are a couple that are still out. Ross is working with, I forgot the guy's name, but with CMP, and have an update for you if there's anything to update at the next meeting. Some good news, we're going to be improving some of our digital services that we provide the residents. Code enforcement is going to be rolling out a cloud permitting platform, which will make it easier for scheduling inspections and keeping an eye on permits that are in progress, and the ability to take out construction permits without having to come to the office. And also the clerk's office will be revamping their agenda management software, so just making it easier and more transparent and helping our residents access us, without having to physically come to the office. So as those go underway, we'll announce when they're live and how we're rolling them out. We'll be kicking off budget soon, so you'll be seeing some updates from us, and probably March we'll set a meeting to do the budget workshops, but that'll be starting up this week, our internal process for budget kickoff. So other than that, that's all I've got.
Okay. Next item.
Next item is appointments. We have just one for the Conservation Commission to reappoint Alan Ward.
Pretty rough character, but I think I can actually, give him my
Vouch
support.
for him?
Absolutely. I'd make a motion to accept.
I'll second that.
Are we ready for a vote?
Yes. Councillor Kane?
Yes.
Councillor Fellows?
Yes.
Councillor Keller?
Yes.
Councillor LaRochelle?
Yes.
Councillor Lunt?
Yes.
Councillor Moore?
Aye.
6 yeas, 0 nays. Order passed, 6-0. All right.
Council communications. Anybody got anything for the council communications? I do, if nobody else does.
I had a couple. If anybody has an opportunity, which doesn't sound real exciting, is to drive down to Public Works and see our new salt shed. It may not seem real exciting, but we've kicked this can down the road for, how long? Forever, right? So we talked about it, unfunded it, funded it, defunded it, and it's finally up. And it's talking to our public work director. It's actually been a blessing this year to actually have salt inside, to be able to load inside. It's been a long time coming, but it is a good sign that projects are finally starting to come to full circle, and we're starting to fund projects. And it's not a real exciting thing to fund, but it's actually, if you go by, it's a pretty neat structure, and I think it's a great location, and I think at the end of the day, it made it work. So it is taxpayers' money at its work, but it is something I think is going to be long-standing. By the look of the thing, it's pretty well built, and just want to give congrats to everybody that was involved in it. And it's one thing we can check off that we've kicked down the road forever. So thank you.
There's salt in it?
There is lots of salt, actually. I think there's enough salt in it to maybe last, well, it really all depends what this winter is. Have we had winter yet? I mean, has it started yet?
Good, I know.
They have used some, but
Good. I'm happy if they don't use any at all. We don't need to, I should say. Is
I'm
that it?
good.
Anybody else? I wanted to talk about goals and objectives for the counselors. We did this last year, and at the halfway point, we looked at them. I wanted to read some of the goals that we had talked about and where they are now, and I would like to ask each counselor to come back probably next meeting with 3 or 4 goals or objectives for our council for the upcoming year. So we'll take a look at them again in probably 6 months, but short term, maybe short term, long term, however you want to look at them, would be fine. But I wanted to go quickly over some of the goals that we had talked about before. We may have, this may be redundant, I'm not sure, but one goal we had was to hire a new town manager. That's
Check.
obviously that's been, we can check that box. Fill open staff positions to 100%. We're working towards the goal in the town office. We've filled the following positions this year: front window clerk, town clerk position, economic and community development position, administrative executive secretary to the town manager, public works administration assistant, assistant town manager, sewer treatment plant administration assistant, and assistant finance director. Public Works just filled their position and a mechanic last week of December. Add 250 housing units. That's a work in progress. Move forward with public safety building. Port City was contracted and has started a process on seeing the feasibility of a public safety building and one fire department. When this report is completed, we can move forward with putting together a public safety building committee. We're waiting results on their report. As a side note there, we're also going to be seating a public safety committee that I'm going to be working on, putting that together. More on that will be coming. Recover from COVID restrictions, completed. We moved a lot of the plexiglass and mask restrictions. Rejuvenate Lisbon Village. We're working on a plan towards this, including redoing roadways and sidewalks on Village Street. And the gazebo, of course, has been completed. Still, I think there's still an ongoing issue with the lights. I don't know where that is right now, but we're working on it. Review financial policies. The finance director, assistant town manager, and town manager completed updating the purchasing policy and is working on personnel policies. Available town services for promotional materials for public awareness. Develop a comprehensive description of services. I'm working on that with updating Civic Plus. Ensure promotional materials are easy to understand. We've increased the use of Facebook and the town electric sign. Identify the town's needs for new services. This was done through meetings between the town manager, finance director, and department heads to see what each department in town needs to do to continue offering great services to our community. This including a new school resource officer, a new firefighter, a new assistant parks and recreation director, a new public works driver operator, And lastly, removing 2 part-time employees and adding a full-time assistant library director to the library. Add a senior tax break to freeze their taxes from going up at a certain age. The state did that. I don't know where that is, but I think it's been passed, but I don't know if it's been, has it been passed?
Yeah, we started accepting applications, I think, was it September? And then they were due by December. I'm not sure the numbers of applications we've received, but it was pretty significant last I heard a report on it.
You got mine, right? Make sure that gets up there. Make sure that gets up there. Develop financial documents or charts to show where our tax dollars go. The finance director has made a dollar chart which shows where the money goes and presented it during the making of the budget. Imagine we'll see that again. Develop a procedure for applying climate study development. Develop a job description with salary ranges. That's been completed. The climate study, I don't know where that is.
I think that might refer to organizational climate, I'm guessing, based on
Oh, is that
the
what
way
that
yeah, because I guess that's when you brought in the consultant and worked on all the
Okay.
job descriptions and stuff.
Yeah, I applied that climate literally, so. Develop more forward-looking projects, programs, empower committees. We've utilized the planning board as well as the finance committee to address projects that have come to the forefront. Revive downtown business communication with the town. The economic community development has connected with over 80 businesses and established or improved relations. In both villages, weekly Facebook posting is town-wide. Upcoming joint promotion project with PCL will be highlighting businesses from both parts of town evenly. Develop a list of business needs to be met. ECD has this as an ongoing effort. Immediate needs are Main Street support during construction and workforce development, which that's been taken care of. ECD has revived FAME loan options for working capital and identified workforce development grant dollars for local businesses. Information has been shared directly to those businesses. Additionally, ECD has launched the Jobs in Lisbon webpage on the town site to help promote living and working locally. That's up and running. Relook at zoning for adding housing units. ROS2 has been discussed, and other topics are being looked into to include completing the RFP for planning services.
This is a little dated, so we've already contracted with North Star, who's helped us with the sign ordinance, and now I guess next steps are going to be to talk with them about the ROS2 work and any other projects the planning board has in the pipeline.
Good. ECD is working with codes and planning board on all 3 items below. Additionally, there is concern for additional housing needs to accompany the expansion at Springworks Farm, where they expect 300 plus new employees. So therefore, we're going to need some more housing. So take care of that, Rob. So that's what I see for what we had talked about previously with our goals. I think we've done pretty well. So let's move forward, get some new goals, some new objectives, and have a good year.
That's a hard act to follow.
Thank you. All right. If there's nothing else, next item.
Next item is audience participation and response for new items. At this time, those in the audience who wish to speak may approach the lectern to address items or issues that are not on the agenda. Please use the microphone and state your name for the record.
Hi, Norm Albert, Lisbon Falls. Just something that came up on the tonight's agenda, but is not what I'm going to talk about. It's what you guys were all discussing, and that was talking about finding a way to look at our local ordinances to make sure that they are in line with different state laws if they're not aligned with. And that made me think about one of the, I'm glad you brought the goals, by the way, Harry. That was nice to hear that. I think it's a great way to start the year. Talk about the accomplishments and where we still need to go. But that was something that was on our goals list a while back, and that was, from day one, which is a charter commission. And I think these two pieces, the ordinance and looking at state laws and what we're tied to that may no longer be relevant, that's on our level. But then next level would be how our charter has some definite deficiencies in where it points and legislation that's been passed at the State House that seriously hamstrings our charter and its ability to be effective in its all forms of government and how we, the checks and balances, if you will. And I don't need to dig into the weeds. I think we all can point to different things along the way over the last 10 years where we could see we've had those things happen. So the thing that came up during our time with council in these last, I would say, 6 years was the Charter Commission is a big undertaking, and it requires a lot. It's a heavy lifting. But I think that if we're going for a two birds, one stone approach, this might be the reason to do that, because we could get to the top level charter, and in doing so, we could have a subcommittee that did ordinance-related things. We can make sure all these things are aligned. I think if we're looking for things to tackle, that would be a good one to put on the list anyway. So that was something. I'm glad you guys had some robust discussion, because that's what I just came to observe tonight.
Good.
But it really got my. I was like, I got to get up there and talk about this, because I won't remember to send this to you in an email.
Good. Good.
We all get busy. And then unrelated to, but still some great stuff that came up, and I just wanted to point it out. I'm sure. Forgive me if you guys already mentioned this. We have a firefighter, and forgive me, Tom, I'm not going to say your last name right. I'm going to try, though. Tom Roble, 21 plus years of service, and he's getting ready to hang up his turnout gear and call it a career. But 21 years protecting homes in this community, I think it's worth a mention tonight, and I just wanted to go ahead and say that. So thanks very much, Tom. We appreciate all your service, and I appreciate everybody new who's joined, and those who continue on. Welcome.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Ross Cunningham, Economic Development. Just a quick mention, I didn't realize that we hadn't met since December 6th. Since that time, we did have Positive Change Lisbon's Very Merry Main Street, down on Main Street. I just wanted to thank them for their efforts and the businesses that participated in that. It was a good turnout. It was longer. It was a little more spread out. But overall, all the businesses and the folks who attended had a great night. So I wanted to thank them for their efforts.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was cold.
Yeah.
Very cold.
Should have waited to January. Might have warmed up a little.
Exactly. Exactly.
Kayla Tierney, Finance Director. Since our last meeting, I just also wanted to give a huge shout out to everybody involved in the Giving Tree. If everyone can imagine it, there were 10 tables in this room. There were presents on all of your chairs, on top of all of these. The room was filled with joy and presents. We wrapped
Thousands? Felt like thousands.
350 presents to 45 families.
Nice.
So it was a really great program this year, and all of the families very appreciative of the community that we live in. So I just wanted to give a shout out to everybody involved, to the Giving Tree, and to the community as well.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. There's nothing else? Next item?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just wanted to comment on Norm Albert's comment. He called me earlier about the matter to do with the charter and to basically explore whether we as a council thought that the charter should be amended. We basically never addressed the charter until we have an issue where we wish we had a change. So his input was that maybe as a council at some level or staff at some level, look at it to see whether we do need to make changes to it. So I just wanted to make the comment that I hadn't brought it up, but he did tonight, so that's not new.
Okay. I got it. I got what he said. Loud and clear.
Okay.
And I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
The next item on the agenda is an executive session. Does council still need that executive session?
Yes.
I think we do, yes.
Okay. Order 2023-7 to go into executive session per 1 MRSA Section 4056A, Personnel Matters.
Make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Roll call, right?
Roll
Roll call. Counselor Kane.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Aye.
Counselor Fellows.
Yes.
Counselor Lunt.
Yes.
Counselor Keller.
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle.
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, vote 6-0. It is 8:14.
And there will be no vote, I believe, what
No,
would be discussed, so,
no vote.
at the end.
All right.
Take care, drive safe.
Thanks for coming, Norm.
Anyone else in the water?
I'll turn off the count,
Oh, can I have one? Is that why that was over
Are
there?
we going,
Yeah, I mean, we can, Glenn, if you want, you either can stay or you can leave, it's totally up to you. It's,